Hey, Katrina here from Scrappy Horses. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I actually am sharing a card with a horse, appropriate for Scrappy Horses, yes. This card was inspired by a challenge over at the Outlawz Twisted Thursday, where the theme is Cutaway Corner. Now, this was a new idea for me. I've never done a card like this before, so I looked to see what sort of metal die cuts I had. The only thing I really had that would be appropriate for a cutaway corner was a collection of circle dies, and I wanted to try something different. So I came into Design Space and came up with the idea that you see on your screen right now. This video includes the Cricut part as well as the assembly later in the video. And if you're not interested in the Cricut part, but you are interested in seeing the assembly, I will put in the comment box below the marker where you can find that. So let's get started in Design Space and see how I figured out this card. All right, I knew this was going to be somewhat involved, so I actually wrote down the directions here so that we could easily find it and you can refer to this as we go along. I started with one rectangle, 3.65 by 4.85, and one heart shape, 3.25 by 2.872 inches. So here's the rectangle, and here's the heart. I also knew that I wanted something up here, and since I chose this paper for my card with the butterfly and the roses, I thought, okay, let's add a butterfly, and I found this little butterfly. I will share with you how I got the sentiment off of that later in the video. This image is from Wink Wink Ink. And I'll put that below where you can find this sweet horse. And that pretty much takes care of everything that we used in here. This beautiful paper that I've used is a digital paper, and it is from Victoria Designs. Again, I'll list that in the comment box below if you're interested in finding that paper. First, let me show you how to pull up free rectangle and a free heart for our project. Over in Shapes, if you left click, you'll find a square and you'll find a heart. You just left click them and import. Then you can size them by simply dragging here. Or if you know the exact measurement you want, you can come up here and do it in the box, type it in. So 3.25, return, and there it is, the size I need. And this rectangle, now because I'm turning a square into a rectangle, I need to unlock this, okay? If I don't unlock it, then the dimensions will stay 1 by 1, 3 by 3, 5 by 5, whatever we imported. This way I can actually change it into a rectangle. And I know that my rectangle is 3.65. I'm just typing this in my keyboard by 4.85. And these dimensions are in inches. I'm going to go ahead and pull this away so it's out of our way. I'm going to go ahead and pull this away, and we'll pull this away because we don't need all that. Let's sort of deconstruct this card before we start building again. Underneath all of this, we have the actual card base. It is cut at 5.5 by 8.5. I just do this on my paper slicer. That way I can save paper. I cut it at 8.5 by 5.5. That way, when I fold it over, it becomes a traditional A size card, which is 4.25 by 5.5. This piece is just sort of the piece that sort of frames it all out. And it is cut at 4 by 5.25. Again, I'll just do that on my paper slicer. This piece right here and this piece right here, that's going to be twine. And these are just place markers. When I build my card in Design Space, I put in bows and twine and ribbon just as place markers so I remember that that is going to go there. Now I am only left here with the actual pieces that I'll be cutting in Design Space. I'm going to start with my rectangle, again, that we imported from Shapes, and the heart that I've imported from Shapes. All I did to create that is I brought it in and I figured out where could I set this heart where I would have enough room to put my little horse in, okay, and still see him, but not so much room that it was just too much. So I decided on approximately here, and you can play with this. You know, maybe you'd like a little more space. The idea is you want to keep it along this edge so you actually cut that out. However, if you do want to bring it in this far, you can remove that extra piece by an extra slice. It's not a big deal. But I chose to just go right on the edge and have him sit right in there like so. I click left, choose both pieces, come over to my layers panel, slice, pull away, pull away, pull away, and now I have this piece. All right, so we started with our rectangle, we sliced the heart out of the corner. Now, I'm going to go ahead and delete this. And in case you're new to Cricut and you're not sure how to do that, you can do it in your layers panel, or you can hit delete on your keyboard, whichever is more convenient for you. I chose to offset this, and that's what gave me this piece, this black or gray piece inside. So I'm going to offset that at 0.083. Here's my piece. I select by a left click offset. I know I want 0.83, so I can go ahead and click on it, left click with my mouse. And on my keyboard, I'm just hitting my left arrow. And I'll do it till I get to 0.083. I want a sharp corner on this, not a rounded corner. So I'm going to click this, and that sharpens that up. I hit apply, and now I have that. So let me go ahead and show you how to turn this into a patterned paper. Right now it says a basic cut, and I want to change it. So I left click, print then cut, left click this square, color. I could change the color of it, or I can add a pattern. I'm just going to choose this one in Cricut. I bring it over, and there it is. So now we have built this much of our card. All right. Let's talk about how we got this little piece in. That again is your offset feature. All I needed to do was take my image here, hit offset, left click. Let's make it a little smaller Again, you can drag this back and forth, but if you can't get it to the exact size you want, then you can use your keyboard again and use your arrows. This one, I do want rounded corners because I don't like all those little points. So I'm going to round that out and apply. And there it is. All we have left is this butterfly. All right. So what I have done is I've gone to images. I've typed in butterfly. And I found the butterfly that I wanted. Okay. I'm not going to take the time to search for the one that I actually used. I will tell you where that came from though. So I'll take this free one here and I click add to canvas and there it is. But we're not going to use that, so we'll go ahead and delete that. But that did show you how I actually brought it in. Before we go any further though, let me tell you where this one came from in case you're interested. The way you can do that is right click, hit image info, then click this. And there it is. I click on those three dots, view image sets. It's from Deepest Sympathy Phrases. And so now I know exactly where I found that earlier. I don't want the thinking of you on this card. How do I get rid of that? Well, I bring in a shape. In this case, I'm going to bring in this rectangle. Bring it down, and it's probably going to take me a couple to get this job done exactly. While I have the rectangle here, I'm going to do a command, copy, command V. That just copied it for me. Okay, I did that on my keyboard. So command C, command V. I left click, select these two together, and I slice. I didn't get it all, so I'm going to come down, turn this, bring it in, do the same thing again, left click, select the two, slice. All right, but let me show you one more way you can do this. You can also choose your rectangle here in the layers panel. Then hit command, choose that, and you have them both selected, and you can come down and do your slice. So there's two different ways you can do that. All right, let's get rid of all this. This time I'm going to hit delete on my keyboard, just for some variety. I have my butterfly. I can size him up and down here. And I can turn him a little bit this way. My butterfly sort of gets lost here because of this patterned paper behind. If I don't want him to get lost, then I need to go ahead and offset him or give him a little bit of a background. So I'll just offset him. That's easy enough. I selected him with a left click offset. And you know the routine. We go ahead and choose our size, either by moving this back and forth with our mouse, or we can use the arrows on our keyboard. Again, I would like a round one here. Now, the smaller I go, I start getting these holes because it's offsetting the inside also. If you like that look, that's great. It's done for you. You just apply. I'm going to change that color here just so it's easier to see. There we go. Let's say you don't love it though, and you want the whole thing filled in. You can do that. All you need to do is move him to the side, left click select, come to contour, hide all contours, and now that is gone. Let's say, oh, I really did like those in there. I'd like to put them back. Well, you can either go back, select it, hit your contour, and add them back, or you can come up here and just hit the back arrow and put them back. It just puts it back for you. It undoes what you did. I'm going to select them both. I'm going to group them here by clicking the group. All that does is it just groups it together so you can move it as one. And now I have all of the pieces that I need for my card. Easy. Put that back in if you want. Now you can see that when I put this back in, it fell back here. There are a couple of ways that you can move that back to the front where you had it. One way is just to go ahead and move it this way. And I know that I want it in front of the red. There it is. The other way is just to say, bring to the front. And then bring your butterfly to the front. So either way works. Now we just go to our print and cut. This piece will print and everything else will cut. Well, look what happened here. This did this. Again, all I need to do is make sure that that is a cut because I'm just going to cut that piece. Basic cut. Come over to contour, hide all contours. And now it's fine. So you might want to check that, especially if you've done some welding on your piece. This one, I wanted to have this straight across, and that's what that triangle was that you saw before. I'll meet you at the craft table, and we'll put this card together. Here we are at the craft table. I've already printed, I've already cut, and I have colored my horse with Copic markers. And I accented the mane with that brown sparkly gel pen. I've got my pieces here, the horse and the butterfly, and I also have their outline pieces that we cut in Cricut. Now I have my 2 card fronts here and that little piece that frames it all out. I've chosen to go with a black card base. This is from Ranger. It's Big and Bossy Embossing Ink. I've chosen 2 embossing colors, sort of a bronze and a gold. Some embroidery floss from Close to My Heart, some straight pens, and there's some vintage photo ink there on the left-hand side of your screen. As I said before, I started with a black card base cut to 8.5 by 5.5. I go ahead and I score down the middle of that at 4 1/4, and then I'll fold that, and that will give us a card base. I love the way this paper had the brown around the top and around the right-hand edge. So I wanted to duplicate that, and the closest ink color I had was vintage photo, and it worked out really well. I was quite pleased with that. I now turn my attention to the butterfly, and some of the little circles didn't cut they cut all the way through, but they didn't fall out. So I'm just coming in with a straight pen and pushing those out. You could use a straight pen, you could use a needle, just anything you have that's small and will poke through. I'm going to lay my butterfly cut into this embossing pad and just smush it down carefully with my finger so that the entire butterfly gets hit with that ink. And then I'll set it on a piece of creased cardstock. I put it on creased cardstock so that I can reuse my powder. After I'm done, I shake it down into that crease and then put it back in the little jar. Now, I'm only putting a tiny bit of this bronze because here I'm filling it out with gold. I did shake off all the bronze that didn't stick, put that back in the jar, and now I'll do the same with the gold. We'll use my Doris heat gun and I'll heat that up. And now the magic begins. I love watching that. I love the sparkles start to appear as you use the heat gun on there. I like to use my Zig two-way glue pen for these little tiny pieces. And believe me, for his little body and his little antlers, I don't know how else I would have gotten those glued on. It worked out great. You'll notice too that after I put this on, I'll lay a stamp block on there. And I just do that just to kind of hold it in place. I used my ATG gun and adhered the first layer to my card base. And now I'm just putting this piece onto my offset feature piece. I'm just simply going to do that with a little bit of my ATG. My technique is to hold it with my left hand, with the palm of my hand, and then start the tape runner with my right hand. That gets my piece set exactly where I want it, and then I can tape the rest in. This is some embroidery floss from close to my heart. I chose to go with the brown, and I'm going to tie it into a sort of X formation here. When I tie this sort of thing, I usually like to catch all of the threads under one thread so that it ties in a nice knot. In this case, it wouldn't have mattered because I'm going to stick that butterfly on the top. I go ahead and move my threads out to the right and to the left so it does form that X. And now I've come in, I've put ATG gun tape on the back. I covered that with glue. That's so if I don't get it exactly right on the card, I have wiggle room because the tape holds pretty quickly. But when I put the glue over the top, then it'll dry quickly. But if I don't get it placed exactly right, like right there, I'm going to smudge it over just a little bit, just a tiny bit. Well, if you just have the tape, you have no room to do that. You can't slide that front anywhere. I'm going to bring the tails of my string over and put them like they're coming off the back of the butterfly, sort of like he's flying and it's causing that string to go back behind him. I'm bringing in some 3-dimensional tape, and I'm going to use some special scissors. This is a kind of scissors that won't get sticky when you cut with it. I forget what they're called. I got them from close to my heart. I'll link them below in case you're looking for a pair of those. But they are really nice to cut tape because they don't get sticky. All right, so I'm just going to cut these in little pieces. I want to cut just enough to go over the wing on that side and the little body on the right side and the bottom of his wing. And I will put 2 layers of this 3-dimensional tape so he sits above that thread. You did see me add fabric tack over the 3D tape. Again, that's just to give me wiggle room. I missed it on tape, but I did adhere the horse to the offset piece. And now I'm adding 3-dimensional tape to the top only of this piece. And I am adding 2 pieces of 3D tape to this, so it's going to come off the card quite a bit. The bottom, however, I'm only going to put a little smidge of glue, and then I just place that right onto the card. Well, that brings another video to a close. I thank you so much for joining me. I'll leave you all of the information you might want below. And if you have any comments or questions, suggestions, or maybe you have an idea of something you'd like to see me try in Cricut Design Space or make at the craft table, let me know in the comments below. See you in the next video. Bye.